Gridball is a sport in the 2016 farming sim game Stardew Valley. It is not a real sport. There is no such thing as Gridball. It can't hurt you. In the game, Alex says he wants to be a pro Gridball player. Shane says he used to play Gridball in high school. The majority of players of Stardew Valley 2016 probably think that Gridball is just American football because of how Alex has a portrait holding what is quite clearly an American football. I assumed this too for many years in blissful ignorance until I started making deep dives. And it's not just American football. I wish it was, but it's not. There's layers to this, okay? It gets its own video. I recently made a video about Shane, and I said in that video that I was going to make this video. And you know what? I regret that, because I sat down to start working on this and I realised very quickly I was going to have to learn a lot about sports, specifically American football. And I'm British and I don't like sports. I barely even know anything about how regular football works. Offside rule? Get off the side of my ass. So look, I don't have all the answers. Just to emotionally prepare you, there is no answer. This is entertainment. Okay, we're gonna go on a little journey as I try to figure this out. Take my hand. Let's learn about sports. You can't run. I am gripping your hand very tight, okay? So please don't struggle. Don't make me do this on my own. Part 1. What we know. Data. I cannot make bricks without clay. So let's establish the facts. Let's go over all of the Gridball mentions in the game, or the ones I could find anyway. Since I've been making the deep dives about the romanceables, most of my knowledge of this game is about the romanceables, so I have a lot of references to Alex and to Shane, but if there are more, from the bottom of my heart, my bad. So this is Alex. Alex is where the majority of our Gridball content comes from. He can often be found outside his house playing with this ball, and we can get a closer look at this ball from this portrait of his. Sorry that his hair turned out dodgy. I was having cricket problems. You understand, I'm sure. Also, I just moved. So these are my paint samples. I'm going to do 2 walls this colour, 2 walls this colour. You don't like it? Well, fuck off. So I think we can all agree that this is supposed to be the same ball, right? Same shape, same little white bit, same ball. Now, how do we know that this ball is meant to be a grid ball? It could just be a random object, right? It could be like a stress ball. I don't know. Well, we know this because of Alex's 2-heart scene. Alex is on the beach playing with this ball. He throws it to you, and then he tells you, I'm going to be the first professional Gridball player from Stardew Valley. There's no doubt in my mind. So it'd be kind of random if he was just playing with a ball from an entirely different sport, and then he starts talking about Gridball. The obvious association here, the leap of logic I think we can make, is that the ball he's playing with when he talks about Gridball is a Gridball. That's not 100%. It's not airtight. There's a little bit of wiggle room there for doubt. But I think if we just follow common sense, collectively, we can pretty much say that this is a Gridball. Or at least it's one of the balls used in the sport of Gridball. Where's my pens? All right, are we all on board with that? Have you written it down? Good, okay. An honourable mention is also Alex's bedroom before you marry him. It's very Gridball pilled, very Gridball coded. Pictures of muscly, shirtless men in this room of a guy who is definitely straight, right? So we see his wallpaper, the little Gridballs. Also in his bedroom, we find this helmet. Now, I don't think the helmet being next to the Gridball in his room is enough for us to say that's a Gridball helmet. I don't think we can make that leap. That's a further leap than I'm comfortable making. So we'll just keep it in mind for now. And it's the same with the picture we can find on his wall. What does that look like in the camera? That looks okay from a distance, I think. Yeah. Seeing it this up close, it just looks like absolute nonsense. It doesn't look like anything because it's supposed to be viewed really, really small. So I think you guys are going to be okay. So the same with the picture we can find on Alex's wall. We could say that this is meant to be Gridball, but I don't think we have enough evidence to support that. So again, we're just going to keep this in mind for now. So Alex's spouse room, when you marry him in the game, has that same wallpaper. It has the same eye candy of the beefcakes. It has the same Gridball. But now, it's this. Another kind of ball. A second ball has hit the towers. This is why I said that that first ball is one of the balls used. Because is this also a grid ball? You're probably thinking, oh, that one looks like a soccer ball. That one looks like an American football. And I do know that, but we're ignoring that for now. But we don't have enough evidence yet to call this a grid ball, just because it's in Alex's room. If that was the logic, then we could say, oh, his weights bench is also a grid ball, right? So we keep it in mind. So now we've got Alex's 14 heart scene that I would refer to as basically a Gridball watching club. I don't know if there's a better way to put it. I've never joined one. Basically, he turns the back of the Stardew saloon into an area where the guys can hang out and watch the Sunday game. But he never actually says the word Gridball. I've been thinking, you know how I used to dream of being an athlete someday? Well, my life ended up turning out a bit different. I'm happy though, don't get me wrong. But I thought it would be cool to have a place where us guys could hang out and watch the Sunday game. Gus liked the idea so much he offered me a part of his back room. This way, I get to keep part of the dream alive, in a small way. Small side note, it's nuts, like the passage of time in this game. Like Alex here is referring to the dream, like it was years ago. But Elliot goes on a book tour for a book that he like just published, you know? I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, Alex doesn't say Gridball, he just refers to it as the game. You just lost the game. But I think we can say that it's Gridball because he also refers to his old dream of being an athlete, and he was very specific that his dream was to do Gridball. So again, why would he bring up his Gridball dream and then refer to watching an entirely different sport? That would make no sense. So we're going to take this as being a Gridball club. They're watching the Gridball game. And so we can learn from this that Gridball has games that are on Sundays. Okay, it's on the board because it's part of what we know. We're collecting our facts. It's data. I can't make bricks without clay. So in this 14 heart scene, there is a TV and it shows multiple images throughout the scene. I hope that you can see those okay as well. I couldn't find these pictures in the actual like files, like on Sprite's resource. So they're just screenshots, so they look a bit rubbish. So sorry about that. Hopefully it's fine from a distance. And above the screen, we can see the same helmet and ball combo from Alex's room. So because we've concluded that they're watching Gridball, we can conclude that all of these images are from the game Gridball. And the ball backs this up because we've already concluded that this is a Gridball and they're holding Gridballs. In these pictures, we see a player wearing a helmet. So we can call this a Gridball helmet because it's worn in the game of Gridball. And we can do the same thing with this picture from Alex's room because this looks like this picture from the Gridball game. Right? That's the same sport. Almost definitely. And this picture, I think, is supposed to represent players on the field. I know that they just look like little squares, but I think it's because of how small this is in the game. There's not enough pixels to make it look like people. Like, look at this screen in the context of the game with everything else going on. You're not going to be able to make those tiny things look like people, so we get rectangles. So since we know that these two are a Gridball game, I think we can include this one as well. So we have more information about what Gridball looks like. And then these last two pictures, I don't think that that really tells us anything helpful. I think this one is like a statistics screen. And then this is obviously a Joja advert. So just to make it look like a real broadcast. Although probably looking at it now, yeah, purple, 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 green, green, green. Those are the two colours. That makes sense. Now we get to talk about Shane. I mean, we're going to talk about Shane. We get to, I mean, it's true, but in Shane's original room and in his spouse room, he has this ball, which is the same ball that we just saw in Alex's room. And this is significant because Shane, too, is into Gridball. For his 10 heart event, for the little date he takes you on, he takes you to a tunnelers game, and he specifically refers to it as your first Gridball game. Anyway, it's your first Gridball game, huh? From the scene around you, we can see that the shirt Shane always wears is also worn by some members of the crowd, meaning that it's even more definitively a tunnelers jersey than some sexy YouTuber proved recently. So, big Gridball fan. he's always wearing a Gridball jersey. So it would make sense that this ball he has in his bedroom would be a Gridball, right? The only sport Shane ever expresses interest in is Gridball, and this is the only ball he has. So it would make sense that it would be a Gridball. If you click on the ball, it says it's a collector's ball, implying it's some kind of merch. And if he's also wearing a Tanner's jersey, maybe he bought them at the same time, right? We have evidence that he's bought Tanner's merch at least once. So it would make sense that that could be Tanner's merch as well. But this isn't as clear of a leap as it was with Alex when we said that this was a Gridball. I don't feel comfortable with what we have right now stating that this is a Gridball. So we're going to put probably for now. I'm also going to include Shane's shirt on our list of Gridball related things because it tells us in the game that it's a Tanner's jersey and the Tanner's are a Gridball team. If you want to argue with me about that, go and watch my 3-hour, 40-minute video about Shane, and then you can argue with me, okay? I welcome it. Bring it. I did not leave myself a lot of room when I put these on. Okay. It's wonky. Oh well. Now, if we briefly venture outside the canon of the game itself, there is a sticker pack sold on Fangamer, which is labelled as an official Stardew Valley product. And this sticker pack has a Zuzu City Tanner's logo. As we know, the Tanner's are a Gridball team. I'm going to bring this closer because, sorry it's blurry, it's just a picture of a sticker pack. And we can see, wait, it's too many things to hold, hang on. And on here, we can see that second ball, the one in Shane's room, is on the logo for this Gridball team. It's not this ball. It's not the ball Alex has. It's not the one from the Gridball game. It's this one. So in my mind, this is enough evidence to put this ball into the category of Gridball. We put probably, I think that with this, I feel comfortable to say definitely. So now we have 2 types of Gridball. Fascinating. The conspiracy just keeps growing, you know. Do you see what I mean now? The layers to it. So it's an onion. As far as I know, there's no sport in real life that uses both of these kind of balls. So we're already straying from the beaten path. The answer can't just be, it's American football. Because look at the Tanner's logo. There's more going on here. Now, if we cover dialogue from the game, so like facts, Alex has some dialogue about Gridball. In fall, on a Sunday, he will say, hey, the Gridball game is on today. Sundays are pretty awesome in the fall. And we already know that Gridball games are on Sundays because of the 14 heart scene. This line of Alex's suggests that Gridball games are on Sundays in fall, but then in winter on a Sunday, he will say, hey, the Gridball game is on today. This might be my favourite day of the week. So it's also on Sundays in winter. When Shane takes you to the Tanner's game for his 10 heart event, it's not a specific day of the week, but he does tell you to meet him at the bus stop after 5 o'clock. And his married lines of dialogue reference the game being on at night. Ah, this is the life. No responsibilities. Tanner's game tonight. Fridge stocked with all the goodies a guy could need. I'm in a great mood today. The Tanner's won big last night. Whereas Alex says the games are on today, but like that could include the night. So I think we can conclude that generally games are on later in the day. I would recommend buying a large whiteboard if you're on the fence about it. It's quite healing for my inner child. You know. In the 10 heart scene at the Tanner's game, when the Tanner's score, Alex and Shane both shout, goal. And this is a helpful thing for us to know because not all sports say goal, but we'll get to that. Finally, Alex tells you in one of his first dialogue lines, did you know I was an all-star quarterback in high school? It's true. See this little star on my jacket here? That proves it. And since in the 2 heart scene, he said that he led his school's Gridball team to the regional playoffs, we are pretty safe in saying that this was a Gridball related brag, right? So therefore, there is a position in Gridball called quarterback. I'm going to get rid of these adverts because I don't think that they really add anything in terms of data. Oh, Shane's on the back of this one. That's so funny. See, I'm good for the environment. I reused it, right? Okay, I think in terms of facts and data, this is all of the information that will be useful to us. There's more. You know, Shane says he used to be on the varsity team, which is sexy. And there are more references to the tunnelers in his dialogue, but they don't really tell us anything we already know. I think these are all of the grains of truth we can use to, these are the seeds we can use to grow the plant of our conclusion. Sometimes I start a sentence, I don't really know where it's going to go, it just happens. Now, I have 4 theories as to what Gridball is. And not only what it is, but why it is. You'll see what I mean with that. Being mysterious. Again, we're not going to be able to say anything definitively, which is why this is more of an investigation. Think of it as like an old school BuzzFeed Unsolved, where I'm like, here are all of the plausible theories, and then you get to decide which one you think is true. Theory number 1. It's just American football. Like I said, this is what I thought for the longest time. This is what most people probably think when they play the game. Similar to how the Feast of the Winter Star is like not Christmas, but it has a Christmas tree and it takes place on the 25th. It's something from the real world, but with the name changed. Just to add like a bit of world building or personality or avoid a copyright dispute or the implication of bias. And this is a theory with a lot of evidence. If we look at everything we've gathered, this is where we're really going to get into the sports talk. Please, 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 just please, all I have to say. First, the Gridball. That's quite clearly an American football. It doesn't have the lines on either end, which according to my research means that it's an NFL ball, as opposed to high school and college level balls, which do have the lines. And I don't think the implication is supposed to be that Alex is playing at NFL level. So I think this is either supposed to be, you know, a ball he bought as a fan, or the rules are just different in this universe. So, point to American football. I'm going to score a touchdown. Next, we have our Gridball helmet, which I think is supposed to represent an American football helmet, as opposed to something like a baseball helmet, which has this flared lip, kind of like a cap. It was kind of interesting looking into this, the different helmets you get with different sports. This was like the one thing that I actually was interested in, because it's like the helmet is specific for the sport that you're playing. Like a hockey mask, you know, the creepy horror movie kind of hockey mask, they apparently are mostly worn by goalies in ice hockey so that they can like dive towards the puck to save it from going in without worrying about their face getting like shredded by ice. A cricket mask has a cage with the gaps just small enough not to let a cricket ball through. Because of this, I went on a brief tangent about like, well, if cricket players have that, why do baseball players not have that? That ball is so small and it's flying at you so fast. One time in high school, I was playing softball and I was backstop and I was wearing a regular softball helmet and the ball hit me there, right on the bridge of the nose. And that is not a softball, despite what the name says. And nobody noticed that happened to me and I said nothing. Because that's the kind of person I was and am. I just stood there. I just didn't say anything. But it turns out, number 1, I should have been wearing a face guard, like a backstop thing. Good job, state school. And number 2, from a brief Google, it seems like a controversial thing in baseball, because some people do wear a face guard when they're batting, but others think it obstructs your field of vision too much. I guess it's like a risk-reward thing, because if you play at a professional level, you're less likely to then get hit in the face with a ball, because you're going to be more able to hit it with the bat. But then it's going to be coming at you way faster and be more dangerous because you've got a professional pitcher throwing it at you. So you have to kind of weigh it up for yourself. It seems like an individual choice. Interesting. Anyway, in American football, they're not so worried about being hit in the face by the ball because it's a big ball and it's like relatively soft. But it's about the impact from the other players, from like tackling, you know, the impact from another player or from the ground. So the face mask part doesn't have a lot of coverage because it's just a structure that's like essentially there to stop someone's elbow hitting you in the face. And we can see this in the helmet from Stardew Valley. Large opening around the eyes for visibility, more structure. Now the face mask part of a football helmet, like the wire bit at the front, isn't standard. Like when you buy the helmet, it seems like you buy the mask separately. It seems like players are allowed to choose theirs as long as it follows certain rules, like it has enough protection. I read this article looking at what helmets the NFL starting quarterbacks were using in the 2022 season. And the most common helmet is one called the Riddle Speedflex. And this applies to the helmet, but if you look on their website, the face mask is sold separately. And the standard one you can get with the helmet looks like this. And this has what's called an OPO face guard, which stands for oral protection only, meaning it only protects the oral parts of the face. This one is an OPO2. According to this article, the most popular look among quarterbacks is the OPO-SW, oral protection only single wire, which omits the top bar for more visibility. Why does this matter? I asked myself that many times when looking into this, right? It matters because if we look at the Gridball helmet, I think that this is supposed to represent the OPO-SW face mask. Do you see it? One line, two bars. And like I said, this is popular among quarterbacks because of how much visibility it provides. Quarterbacks are throwers. This must be so painful to watch if you know anything about American football. I'm just like culturally appropriating you. I'm getting it wrong. They're throwers. They throw. So you got to have a strong arm and good aim. But you also have to be able to see people all the way down the field to know where to throw. And you have to have good peripheral vision to avoid people coming at you, because you've got the ball. I think that that's how it works. This is the limit of how much I'm willing to learn, okay? I don't like Stardew Valley that much. So Alex said that he's a quarterback. We can assume that this is his helmet because it was in his bedroom and then it was in the bar that he decorated. And this tracks. This is a helmet that a quarterback would wear. So point to American football. What's up, gamers? Editing Fiona here. So I messed up the audio from this point onwards because it ended up with electrical interference in it. It's my bad. We all make mistakes. Everybody has those days, But I thought I had ruined the footage. And I went onto Discord and I did a bit of a Hail Mary. I added everyone and I said, please help me. And somebody did help me. Jazz from Discord. Thank you, Jazz from Discord. Jazz from Discord suggested I use CapCut Pro. So it's mostly fixed. It's a little bit crunchy from here on, like a tiny bit. There are some points where it's a bit rough. I'd say it's 99% fine. But what I've done is I've made sure to do the subtitles. I've gone through those myself. I've made sure that they're accurate, in case you're finding it a bit hard. But it should be fine. I just wanted to let you know. So, you live and you learn. Don't plug two things in at the same time with the same portable charger. I'm not a woman in STEM, you guys. Okay, bye. The fact that he calls himself a quarterback is also a point to American football because according to Wikipedia, the term quarterback isn't used in any other sport. So that's an easy one. There we go. We also figured out that Gridball games are on Sundays in fall and winter. If we look at the Wikipedia page for the NFL regular season, it says, the National Football League, NFL, regular season begins on the weekend following the first Monday of September, i.e. the weekend following the Labor Day holiday, and ends in early January. So it starts in September and it ends in January, aka it starts in fall, it ends in winter. In terms of it being on Sunday, it does seem from Wikipedia that games are played on various days of the week. But it does say the majority of games are played on Sunday. And I found a couple Reddit threads of people complaining about how most of the games were on Sundays. And so people replied and said that NFL owns Sunday. They refer to it as NFL Sunday. So Alex being excited for the Gridball game to be on Sundays in fall and winter, that is a strong, strong point for American football, in my opinion. So I count as one or two, do you think? Let's say one. In terms of time of day, Shane tells you to meet him for the Gridball game after 5 p.m. And he also refers to the game as being on last night. According to, again, Wikipedia, since 1990, the majority of NFL regular season games are played on Sundays at 1 p.m. or around 4:05 to 4:25 ET. The late afternoon ET window is usually reserved for games hosted in the Pacific time zone or Mountain time zone, plus one or more marquee contests. And what area is in the Pacific time zone / Mountain time zone? The Pacific Northwest, aka where Stardew Valley's creator comes from, aka the area of the US that the game is very much inspired by. Like some of the forageables, some of the berries, I think you can only find there. So if Conservative is living in an area where the games start at like 4 o'clock, 4:30, and they take apparently around 3-ish hours, it would make sense that he would refer to games being on at night. Tracks, makes sense. Point to football. Our final point comes from these visualizations of a Gridball pitch. First of all, we have the goalposts. This big fork-looking thing that we can also see here. That's an American football thing, as opposed to something like rugby, where the posts look like this. For the NFL, it also apparently has to be painted a league-approved shade of yellow, and we can see in these pictures that it is yellow. Point to football. The next thing is the pitch, right? We can see the lines, and that is pretty classic American football. If we compare it to something like a football or a rugby pitch, you can see that the American football pitch has what are basically rulers up both of the sides, as compared to the other sports where the lines are more to demarcate areas of play, like the goal. Interestingly, if you look at a diagram of a rugby pitch, it looks like this, which is incredibly similar to an American football pitch. But in reality, when they actually draw the lines for rugby, they don't draw all of those lines, so it ends up looking different. So closest match pitch-wise is American football, because as I said, we can see these little ruler lines up the sides. Now let's discuss the end zones. I wrote down in the script, I found this so boring, I was in my own personal end zone. I'm going to summarize it for you, okay? The end zone of an American football pitch, or field, as they call it, are where touchdowns, 2-point conversions, and safeties are scored, and where touchbacks occur. What the fuck are any of those things? I don't know. I refuse to find out. Orange weighted pylons mark the 4 corners of each end zone. Team or league logos or other patterns may be painted inside the end zone, as long as they do not interfere with the mandatory field markings. Now, we can't see any orange pylons, but we can see that the end zones are painted. It's more clear in this picture, that the end zone is blue, but in this one, there is a slight tealness to it. Now, as far as I can tell, from opening like 30 tabs about this, a blue end zone doesn't have one definitive meaning. I was hoping it would be like, blue end zones only happen in high school games. So this is from Alex's high school game, or it only happens in the Pacific Northwest. But no, Michigan State University seems to be known for their blue end zones. And Michigan's all the other, somewhere else. I don't know. Apparently it's in the upper Midwest as opposed to the Pacific Northwest. So, unhelpful. Thanks, Michigan. But one team that does seem to use blue end zones is the Seattle Seahawks, which are Seattle's football team, as opposed to the Seattle Sounders, who are the soccer team. As you can see from this picture from their Facebook page, and someone commented, they don't paint their end zones blue until the Sounders aren't playing. Too much effort to de-blue them for soccer games and re-blue for Hawks games. Right, that makes sense. Thank you, man, from Facebook. So I think that this is another point to American football. If they specifically de-blue for soccer games and re-blue for football games, and it's blue, right? Points to football. Our last point for American football comes not from the game, but from the term itself. Gridball. American football, referred to simply as football in the United States and Canada, and also known as gridiron football. Gridiron football? What the fuck is that? Well, gridiron football, also known as North American football, or in North America as simply football, is a family of team sports derived from rugby football and football by extension, primarily played in the United States and Canada. American football, which uses 11 players, is the form played in the United States and the best known form of gridiron football worldwide, while Canadian football, which uses 12 players, predominates in Canada. Right, so the sport that you and I would refer to as American football is a type of gridiron football. This is because, again, according to Wikipedia, the original design of the field didn't just have horizontal lines, it had vertical lines as well, and therefore it resembled a gridiron, which is a metal grate with parallel bars typically used for grilling foods. So this is a gridiron. I can't find a single picture of a gridiron that actually has cross-hatching bars, aka what the field used to look like, aka why it's called gridiron football. Just imagine something like this, okay? I know that this is a cooling rack, but in theory, this is a gridiron, right? And the field of American football kind of looks like it, and so it started to get referred to as gridiron football, partly to distinguish it from other types of football, like soccer and rugby. So you've got gridiron football, which is American football, rugby football, which is rugby, and association football, which is soccer. Okay? So, gridiron football. What does that sound like? Well, so we've got gridiron football. Grid, iron, football. Grid, football. Grid, iron ball. Grid ball. Grid ball. Gridball. How about that? Is that okay? You can't tell me. You're not here. Since gridiron football refers exclusively to American football, specifically not soccer or rugby, that is a point to American football if I ever saw one. Okay, we've got 9 points. Did I cover everything? Yeah. Yeah. Are you ready for theory number 2? Well, you better be. Theory number 2. The European confusion. Sounds like an episode of Poirot. You may think 9 points for American football. That's a lot of evidence. Closed case, right? And a lesser academic may leave it there. They may be satisfied with that. But I am nothing if not thorough. I mean that. Without my thoroughness, I am nothing. So this next theory comes to us from a user simply known as Taps. This is a comment that I saw during the live chat of the premiere of my Shane video part 1. And I screenshotted it when I read it because it was smart. So Taps, whoever you are, credit to you. So they write, I think it's just gridiron football, aka American football, but written to avoid the everywhere else versus USA confusion. So football, as we know, is not a definitive term. It has many meanings. Football to me means association football, right? Soccer. Because I am British. Football to the majority of my audience, which is people in the US, is American football. That's why it's so hard for me to make things like this, because I have to be so painstakingly clear. And I also just refuse to refer to football as soccer, because then the Americans win. I'm already slowly having my brain rewritten by the amount of American media that I consume, to the point where I forget British words for things sometimes. I called my hob a stove the other day. No more. So naturally, this is not just an issue for little old me. The very fact that American football started to be referred to as gridiron football and regular football is association football means that this was an issue, and it was becoming confusing for those old geezers back in the 1800s. Football? What's that? Gridiron? Oh, I know what you mean immediately.
Pizza? Never heard of it.
So the theory goes that originally in Stardew Valley, it was just football. Clearly, it's based in American football, based on everything we just went over. Absolute mountains of proof. And then at some point during the game's development, before version 1.0, before release, it was changed to Gridball to avoid any confusion. And there's proof for this too. I'm going to go into this in the next Shane video, but I found something. I don't think this is some big secret. I don't think I'm the first person ever to have found this, but everyone that I've talked to about it has never seen it before. I'd never seen it before. Are you excited? Okay, let's discuss. As mentioned in my Shane video, I downloaded an early build of Stardew Valley, version 1.07, and I cracked open the dialogue files so that I could add Shane's dialogue to my big spreadsheet. Well, while poking around in those early files, I found this. 4 folders labeled spring, summer, fall, and winter, containing dialogue that is not in the finished game, that I had never seen before. Pre-release dialogue. And I just found something crazy. You go into like this folder that says winter, right? This was just in the folder that said dialogue in the game files. You go into this and you click on Shane. Tomorrow I go back to the city again to work at the stadium. I've got to surround myself with sports if I hope to break into the industry. Plus I get to eat all the jalapeno chips I want. Who's that? Who's that? What? I've never seen that in my life. But none of this, not a single piece of this is surviving dialogue. So I guess this is like pre-release dialogue. This is from when he was developing the game and it's just still in here. So Alex, before release, was called Josh. So his files are called Josh. And if we look at Josh's pre-release dialogue, he says, "Did you know I was the captain of my school's football team? See this little star on my jacket here? That proves it." Football. He calls it football. compared to the 1.07 version, aka after release. Did you know I was an all-star quarterback in high school? It's true. See this little star on my jacket here? That proves it. Where he just refers to himself as an all-star quarterback, as opposed to specifically referring to football. And we have more examples of this. So, pre-release dialogue, looks like a good day to toss the football around, huh? I'd ask you to play catch, but you don't really seem like the football type. And then after release, looks like a good day to play catch, huh? I'd ask you to throw the ball around, but you don't really seem like the sports type. Toss the football around becomes play catch, and football type becomes sports type. If you say no to this, he used to say, yeah, some people just aren't made for football. And now he says, yeah, some people just aren't made for sports. In fall, pre-release, he said, hey, the football game is on today. Sundays are pretty awesome in the fall. And now he says, hey, the Gridball game is on today. Sundays are pretty awesome in the fall. The same with the line from winter. It used to be, hey, the football game is on today. This might be my favourite day of the week. And now it's, hey, the Gridball game is on today. This might be my favourite day of the week. I just remembered a shirt that I own. Hang on. America. It's a bit wrinkly because I use it as a pyjama shirt. And now I just feel like I'm in my pyjamas. But, that's good. I'm fine with that. So we can see with these last lines that football was directly changed to Gridball. The football games on today became the Gridball games on today. So clear as day. The original intention was for it just to be football. And prior to release, that was changed to Gridball. And all mentions of football were erased. Fascinating. Fascinating. Right? We're peeling back the layers here. When I first posted that I found this dialogue on Patreon, someone referred to me as a Stardew Valley archaeologist, and I'm honoured by that title. I take that with pride. It makes it sound like I have a real job. But this is still not our definitive answer. There are still pieces of evidence on our evidence board. There are still pieces of evidence on our evidence board that have gone unaddressed. We can't ignore some pieces of evidence just because it's convenient. We don't want a half-baked theory. It is a capital mistake to theorize before one has all the data. It biases the judgment. Insensibly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts. Am I right? In it. So with that totally original quote I just came up with, let's go to our next theory. Theory number 3. It's a mix of football and soccer. As you may have observed during our evidence portion, there are a lot of references to association football, aka soccer. First, the most obvious. This ball that you can find in Shane's room and in Alex's spouse room. Now, we concluded that this is also a grid ball because it's the only ball that Shane has, and the only sport that he's interested in is Gridball. And there's the official Stardew Valley sticker pack with the Tunnelers logo, which has this ball on it. And we know that the Tunnelers are a Gridball team, not only because of Alex's 2-heart event, but because of Shane's 10-heart event where he takes you to a Tunnelers game and he specifically says it's your first Gridball game. I saw that as enough evidence collectively to agree that this is a Gridball. But what's the alternative? Because you could argue that just because Shane has this ball, it doesn't mean that it has to be connected to the only sport he ever talks about. Maybe it was a gift. Maybe the Tunnelers logo isn't canon. Sure, it's official, but it's also outside of the actual game, so it's basically up to us whether we consider it canon or not. I would argue that this video, at its heart, is about intention. Our whole second theory was about the intention behind it being renamed to Gridball. This is not real. There aren't really facts. I may try to take a Sherlock Holmes approach, but there is a big difference between a crime scene with a dead body and a video game that has updates and can change and is not real. So we're going to have to make some logical leaps here, right? As much as I would love to present a fully airtight, indisputable argument to you, God, that'd be amazing. I don't think that that's possible. So all I can do is try to work backwards and come to what conclusions we can. So here is my argument that this soccer ball is supposed to be a grid ball. I'm just going to call it a football, okay? Just going to call it a football. I mentioned in the first theory that the Seattle Seahawks were a likely inspiration to how the pitch looks, the blue end zone. Well, this would not be the first time that a Seattle team was an inspiration, because we also have a ton of links with the soccer team, the Seattle Sounders. First, we can't really see him that well anymore. First, the Tunnelers jersey. If you want a full psychoanalysis of this jersey, by which I mean that I'm psycho and it's my analysis, then you should watch my Shane video. But there's no point in rehashing proven facts, right? I proved pretty well, I would say definitively, that this is based off of this, the Seattle Sounders jersey, or at least very, 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 very strongly inspired by it. Secondly, we have the Tunnelers logo. From the years 2009 to 2023, pray tell, what was the Seattle Sounders logo? Come on. Come on. Come on. I'll put it on the screen so it's easier to see. The colours, the shape, the banner, the font. It's the same font. I don't know how to check that for sure, but like if we zoom in, the little flick behind the E in the top of the R, that's the same font, or at least it's trying to be the same font. But what's been added? Can you just spot the difference for me? One thing that's been added is the football. That's not even in the original Seattle Sounders logo, even though in real life, they are a football team. The decision was made to add this football to the Tunnelers logo, right? That wasn't inspired by the Sounders, because it just came out of nowhere. So this isn't like a grandfathered in legacy thing because it's inspired by the Sounders logo. This is whole cloth Tunnelers. Now, this isn't really important, but I was wondering about what the actual logo is supposed to represent. You know, like this big thing here. I was like, well, what's that? It's like a big circle, but with like spokes. So is it a wheel? But do you know what I think it is? I think it's because they're tunnelers. And do you know what they used to make tunnels? Tunnel boring machines. And do you know what tunnel boring machines look like? That's what that is, right? God, I'm good. It's elementary. I thought that was really smart, clearly. And I showed this logo to my husband. And I was going to talk him through it. And I was like, do you know what that is? And he was like, that's a tunnel boring machine. Because he watched a documentary about how they made the tube. So he knows what a tunnel boring machine is. But most people probably didn't know that. So now we do have other pieces of evidence that point towards soccer. At Shane's 10 Heart event, the Tunnelers game, the Gridball game, he says that the Tunnelers are on the attack. And then both Shane and Alex is also in the audience. I don't know if I mentioned that. Alex is there too. Also, Gus is there. I only just noticed that yesterday. Gus is there. They both shout, goal. Now I'm thinking, wait a minute. They don't say goal in American football, do they? They say touchdown. I Googled it. I couldn't get a definitive answer. I clicked on a link to Quora, but they wanted me to like create an account or like sign in or something. And I'm not fucking doing that. So dead end there. So I have two sources here, two people I spoke to on Discord. The first person I talked to is Hannah, who is American, I think, and seems to know a lot about American football. And she has just finished writing a Clint and Elliot fan fiction. A Clint and Elliot fan fiction. And it is actually good. I'm about 50,000 words into it. I am enjoying it. I will link it down below. And the second person I spoke to was Erika. Erika is to Alex what I am to Shane. The person you would consider the authority, right? And she also has a big interest in American college football. I will also link Erika's fanfiction down below. I've heard good things. I haven't had a chance to check it out. I've heard good things. So two very good sources, right? People who actually know what the fuck they're talking about. Instead of me reading Wikipedia. So I asked them, do they say goal in American football? And I still got conflicting answers. Hannah said sometimes. Erika said never. Okay. Thanks, guys. I love having definitive answers. But it doesn't really matter in the end, okay? Because I learned some other important things. So the only time in American football that it would be logical in any way to say goal is with a field goal, where one of the players, the kicker, comes out and kicks the ball and tries to get it through the field goal, the big yellow thing. So I mentioned how right before they say goal, Shane says the tunnelers are on the attack. And apparently no one would ever say that they were on the attack in the context of a field goal. Because if you do a field goal, you have to set them up, right? American football, despite the name, they do not use their feet with the balls very often. So it's not like, it's just on the ground and then they try and kick it and it goes through the thing. They have to set it up. You have to put it in the little holder that it goes in. And then the kicker comes in. It's not just oh, they're on the attack. And a guy is just walking onto the field. So if they were saying goal because of a field goal, which is the only way it would make sense in American football, that still doesn't make sense, because right before there would be a hypothetical goal, there would be this thing happening that's not an attack. I feel pretty confident saying this. Both of my sources agreed on this. So therefore, with everything I've just said about football, my conclusion is that this is a reference to soccer, association football. The idea of players being on the attack and then there's a goal. Football. I've watched football before. I live in England. It's impossible not to. You can't get away from it sometimes. That football shirt I was wearing earlier, I didn't buy it for this video. I already owned that. That's how much you can't get away from it. My cousin Keith bought it for me. Love you, Keith. I don't know if you watch my videos. Probably not. I love you. So I have a base knowledge, but I have looked up the actual terms so I can explain it to you instead of just being and then the guys do this and then they go here and so I can actually, speak properly. So let's talk about the positions, the players. A team is made up of 1 goalkeeper and 10 outfield players who fill various defensive, midfield, and attacking positions, depending on the formation deployed. These positions describe both the player's main role and their area of operation on the pitch. So defensive, that's the people down by the goal. Not important to us right now. We're going to look at the midfield. Since most of the action takes place in and around their area of the pitch, midfielders often exert the greatest degree of control over how a match is played. It is often said that a match is won or lost in midfield, meaning that whichever team dominates the middle area of the pitch is able to dictate the game. So the midfield refers to the middle, where the fight for the ball is going on, where it's decided whether it will go towards one goal or the other. Midfielders are also referred to as playmakers, meaning they make plays. They control the flow of the game by being in that pivotal middle position. So they most often initiate attacks. Picture this. A midfielder sees an opportunity to seize the ball. They attempt it. They attack. The tunnelers are on the attack. They succeed. They either attempt to score if they're an attacking midfielder, or they pass it to a striker who attempts to score. They succeed. Goal. That makes sense, right? It makes a lot more sense if we put it in the context of football. The term goal is ubiquitous with football. This football, you can really see why they made the different terms, gridiron. I'm not using them, but you can see why they did it. So this makes perfect sense, right? They're on the attack, and then goal, association football. But we still have all of our evidence for American football. We still have these pictures of a gridball pitch, which is clearly not a football pitch. There's no football goal. There's only a field goal. So how do they score goals? How did this happen? Do they have to kick this ball through the field goal? I don't know. But look, it doesn't have to make sense. Okay, all we can conclude here with theory number 3 is that we have elements from both gridiron football and association football. Yep, that's all we can conclude. Or is it? Theory number 4. Theory number 4. It's all sports. These have been getting progressively uglier. I do know that. And I know that they weren't very good in the first place. I'm skilled in other ways. Okay.
There's a clock on the wall.
8 + 2 × 5.
10 after 8.
I'm gifted in other ways.
I'm just wearing this one because it's the comfiest. My back hurts. It's standing up this whole time. Okay. Theory number 4. It's a shit post. So the lovely Cass from Discord, who also makes the most amazing fan art and fan fiction, and fan art for their fan fiction, Like, can you imagine the power? Being able to create whole worlds. You only get one, okay? You should be able to either write or draw, okay? No one can do both. That's not real. So Cash suggested a theory. I was watching your Shane video today, and you mentioning the Gridball thing of like, is it European football or American football? I wanted to put forth my theory on it for your consideration. We see both types of footballs, and we also have that weird item of Alex's bat in the Desert Festival. But as far as I know, Gridball is the only sport ever mentioned, other than like 8-ball pool, I suppose. So my theory is that it's some kind of inside joke of Concerned Ape, that he puts all these different varieties of sports equipment into the game with the implication that it's all Gridball, while making no attempts to explain what the game exactly is or how it's played. Kind of like Calvin Ball from Calvin and Hobbes, but like badly executed and just confusing. Now, the weird item of Alex's bat in the desert is something that Alex sells at the Desert Festival. Now look at this bat. What sport do you think of? Baseball. Maybe softball. Maybe cricket if you're like trying to be different. But look, there's no sport. It's not Alex's baseball bat. It's just Alex's bat. So we get 2 clues here. The sweet spot and the Grand Slam. When I looked up Grand Slam, it originally told me that it's a tennis term, and I almost lost my fucking mind from having to learn about another sport. But no, it's just a term that's applicable to a lot of sports. Okay. Panic over. So in baseball, a Grand Slam is where the bases are loaded, aka there's players on each base, and the batter hits a home run, meaning they're able to go all the way around all the bases and get home in one, like, inning. And therefore, all the other players on all the other bases are able to get home too. So you're scoring the maximum amount of points in one round, as opposed to something like, you know, you get a home run and there's only 2 players on the bases, right? This idea of maximum possible points seems to be ubiquitous with the term Grand Slam, because a Grand Slam in tennis is where you win all 4 of the major championships. But where we can narrow this down to baseball is because it says the sweet spot of the bat is dented from Alex's Grand Slam, which would suggest that the Grand Slam wasn't an achievement, but it was an action. You know, he hit the ball, the bat got dented, he was able to do a Grand Slam. The sweet spot of a baseball bat is the place on the bat barrel where the contact between bat and ball results in the best hit. The ball leaves the bat with the greatest speed and the player's hands feel very little vibration from the impact. So this all tracks with baseball. Alex hits the ball right on the sweet spot. He got the best possible hit. It got so far that he did a Grand Slam. If this video was about what sport this bat is from, we're done, right? We're finished. But if we return to Cass's theory, he included this bat within the umbrella term of Gridball because no other sport exists. I think this makes sense also when we think about how it's Alex's Grand Slam. Alex, who is Mr. Gridball, Gridball coded, Gridball pilled, storyline revolves around Gridball, multiple pictures of him with a Gridball. Suddenly he's also into baseball, and he's so good at baseball that he made a dent in the bat, that he got a Grand Slam, that he got a Grand Slam so good that it was a famous Grand Slam. And this is the only place in the game that that's ever mentioned. If we're folding soccer and football together under Gridball, baseball may as well be in there too. Why not? The only other piece of evidence I can find for this is a wallpaper that you can buy. It doesn't have a name, but it looks like this. Here we can see, why am I using my finger? Here we can see American footballs, a baseball, and a basketball. And the American football is on there twice. Now maybe this is just like sports wallpaper, random sports. Or maybe it's Gridball. Maybe all of these are Gridballs. Maybe the American football is on there twice to represent how that is the main Gridball. And the other ones are like the less often used Gridballs. Either way, we have reason to believe that Gridball encompasses not only soccer and American football, but now also baseball and potentially basketball. So Cass's comment also compares Gridball to Calvin Ball. Now, the Calvin and Hobbes fandom wiki states, Calvin Ball is a game invented by Calvin and Hobbes. It is used recurringly in several strips. Game may involve wickets, mallets, volleyballs, and additional sports-related equipment, but a mask is always required. There is only one permanent rule in Calvin Ball. Players cannot play it the same way twice. For example, in one game of Calvin Ball, the goal was to capture the opponent's flag, whereas in a different game of Calvin Ball, The goal was to score points by hitting badminton birdies against trees using a croquet mallet. So if we look at the gameplay section on the wiki, you can see this big long list of all the different elements of play that have been included in Calvin Ball through the years. And we can see reference to at least 5 sports: croquet, badminton, volleyball, soccer, and cricket. So this theory goes that Gridball is just like a hodgepodge. It's not intended to make sense. Maybe, like Cass said, it's an inside joke. Maybe it's a narrative convenience. Maybe it's laziness or sloppiness, or maybe it's intentional and deliberate. But basically the answer here is, truly, as it has been all along, there is no answer. I did warn you. I don't know what you were expecting. I don't have all the answers. This is a question that it is impossible to answer, unless I were to somehow contact Concerned Ape about it directly and get a response. And I didn't do that. I'm not burying the lead here. I'm not being cute. I did not do that. And I don't want to. I don't care about journalistic integrity. I don't want to. I've said this multiple times, that if I ever catch a hint that he knows that I exist, I am deleting my whole channel and then myself. Okay? So nobody tell him. I mean it. I would like nothing more than to live a clout-free life where I can just talk shit about a man that it doesn't know I exist. Okay? With no ethical implications. So those are my findings. That's the data. Those are the theories. Choose whichever one sounds most plausible to you. Or if none of them do, I encourage you to form your own theory. What's that? Are you asking me which theory I believe in? Well, I suppose I've come this far. Secret theory number 5 reveal. All of the above. They aren't mutually exclusive. They can all coexist. Here's the timeline as I see it. First, American football exists in the game, as we saw with Alex's pre-release dialogue. So, theory 1, correct. Alex's portrait is drawn with the American football, and he's given this little thing to toss around. Then, sometime before release, football is changed to Gridball. So, theory number 2 is correct. And then at some point, possibly around version 1.1, the depictions of soccer were also folded in to Gridball. Pre-version 1.1, aka before the character of Shane was romanceable, he had no dialogue or reference in any way to sports, right? No reference to the tunnelers or to Gridball, except this ball in his room. So where before, non-romanceable Shane might have been intended to be a soccer fan, with the expansion of his character when he became romanceable, we got the 10 Heart event at a sports game. So for Concerned Ape, the 2 options were either establish Shane as being interested in a different sport to Gridball, or have him also be into Gridball despite the soccer implications. Concerned Ape could have done the same thing with association football as he did with gridiron football. You know, shorten the term. Gridiron football became Gridball. Association football would have become Arsball. Arsball. No wonder he didn't do that. So now, with these combined, the structural integrity of Gridball is compromised. Whereas it was once a one-to-one depiction of American football, now it's some fictional thing because it's got elements from different sports. So it gets Calvin Ballified, right? Sure, throw baseball in there. Why not? Let's put a basketball on the wallpaper. I'm sure that'll confuse people. That'll fuck with them. Instead of trying to fix the contradictions of what Gridball is, he leans into them. It becomes this impossible sport, incomparable to anything that exists in the real world. Impossible to pass or to explain. And that's Gridball. Again, I don't know the intention of it, whether it's light-hearted or it is just to fuck with us, or me specifically, or it's some light-hearted joke, or it's just sloppiness. I personally would take it probably something good-humoured, because the stakes are so low. So low. I only care about this because of Shane. Because Shane is involved. If he wasn't, I would not care. I'm a supportive partner. I care about my man's interests, okay? I need to know what it is if I'm gonna be into it. That's the end. That is my ultimate theory. The answer is that there is no answer. The question is the answer. It was the friends we made along the way. I hate sports. Don't ask me about sports in the comments. Let me forget everything I've learned. Okay? I don't don't take this as an invitation to talk to me about sports. I don't want that. I will not reply to you. Shane video part 2, when? I don't know. Shane video part 2, when? I don't know. When it's ready. When I need money. I've obviously got other things going on right now. Thank you. The move went well. The entire rest of this room looks like a bomb's hit it, but this wall is okay. Anyway, thank you for watching my YouTube video. I have been the eponymous Fiona. Smash that subscribe button. Bye.